welcome to my brand new top 5 series. This is something I've been meaning to launch for almost a year and just never been able to be all that active on YouTube until now. This episode is going to be going over 5 characters I'd love to see reworked as soon as possible, some because they're favourites, others because they're awful in comparison to characters they're stronger than in canon. Although it's mainly because a lot of these characters just badly need to have some use and place in the game. I plan to go over why they need the rework, throw in some potential ideas about what could be done, and even suggest some new characters who could bring about the new mechanics to assist in a rework. We've had some reworks over the last couple of months. In fact, some of them were on my original list when I made a draft several months ago for this video. Grandmaster Yoda's was an example of a really good rework. He became used in just about every Jedi team, has a great Sith Raid Phase 1 team which I demonstrated in a previous video. He can also function as a leader or a member of a Jedi team to equal effect. We've had a required rework in the likes of Night Sister Zombie, whose kit had frustrated many people forever, feeling like a cheap way to win. Now she performs even better and rewards those who actually invested in her by gearing her up originally. Then we have the not so good reworks like Cad Bane, which seems to have happened but still nobody uses the guy, despite how popular of a bounty hunter he is and how easy of a farm he is. All 3 of those would have made my top 5 list if I had released this video when originally intended. Hopefully all 5 on my list will be successful reworks who will revive or in some cases just give the character its first real purpose in the game. So let's get on with the first episode and begin my countdown with number 5. The days of using Sidious seem a distant memory. His place in Rancor or heroic AAT are long dead, and it seems his entire purpose went along with it. He's just about the only character who doesn't get plugged into Traya teams and has no real use anywhere else. Zeta and Sidious has become one of the community jokes on social media, and that should really be quite telling. I myself have him Zated from way back, but must use the character as a throwaway 5th member maybe once every few months in something like Territory Wars. I mean, he doesn't have a horrible kit, there just isn't all that much to it. Factor in how squishy he is, and even Sith Assassin feels like a better option. I'd like to see him reworked to reflect the ridiculously agile and powerful display we saw of him facing Maul and Savage. I'd love him to be Sith's answer to something like Raid Han, an incredibly dangerous attacker who must be shut down, instead of just a TIE pilot with a saber. I feel Sidious deserves to be a more prominent character in the game, but right now he just isn't. Players choose to look past any Sith synergy and plug the likes of Thrawn or Nest into the Sith teams instead. Unfortunately, I don't see a rework coming anytime soon, not unless we see Sidious in some more saber battles in the revival of the Clone Wars series. HK is another character whose best days were in the rise of the heroic AAT raid. The droid Jawa team was pretty impressive in Phase 2 until stronger teams were developed with newly released characters. With a recent influx of characters from the Knights of the Old Republic series, I actually expected a rework for HK to pair in with T3M4's release. Much to my surprise and disappointment, this wasn't the case. Perhaps with a future release of Darth Revan we'll finally see this take place? Who knows, it's all just pure speculation right now, but it's something I would absolutely love to see. HK remains one of the few lead options for droids and generally only gets used because he's the best of a bunch of bad choices. I mean, we're not really going to use Lobot now, are we? His kit feels dated and underwhelming as the power creep has seen deeper skill sets develop. His self-revive is nothing to fear at this stage, and neither hurt either of his attacks. A rework to reflect his role as a Sith Assassin droid, perhaps allowing some synergy with Sith of his era, or a new ability to make use of his sniping skill could go some way to boosting his viability. A revamp of his leadership would be absolutely essential and would be key to reviving the droids for some decent PvP use. HK-47 was actually my first serious farm when I started back in October 2016, and honestly, outside of some early Galactic War and heroic AAT action, HK has largely remained unused. He is still gear 10 and has maybe had one battle in Territory Wars back when my guild was below 100 million and had easier matchups. For now, this meatbag will be sat awaiting the day HK becomes an essential member of a droid team based on his kit, rather than just being the default leader I'm forced to use. It's no secret that Mace is one of the most powerful Jedi, a dominating and commanding leader who is respected by all. Even Anakin would stand down during their disagreements. A world-class saber duelist, Mace finds himself as one of the least used Jedi and overall characters in all of Galaxy of Heroes. A total revamp is needed to bring him back into use, and after Grandmaster Yoda's rework, many in the community were excited about the possibility of Mace finally becoming the threat we feel he should be. Unfortunately, Yoda's rework was more of a Sith raid related update and not a Jedi faction rework that many of us had hoped, so Mace remains an underwhelming tank with no real offensive power and a low level lead. He just doesn't tick any box as the best or even second best for any role. As a result, he sits unused in even brand new players' rosters despite being given a 4-star Mace via an event early on. I'd love Mace to get an arena based leadership rework along with some balance tweaks to make him a threat offensively. If he's not going to be a decent tank, and pretty much any decent tank has to be able to taunt, which he doesn't, then he needs to be the kind who can do serious damage but has a health pool and kit that makes him frustrating to get rid of. He needs to draw the enemy towards him and slow people down from wanting to get rid of Ezra or Yoda first. The likelihood of a rework is actually quite good. Capital Games know the community wants to see some of the other Jedi Masters boosted, and a true Jedi meta is due following years of Rebel, Empire and Sith domination. The Chosen One is more often the never chosen one in Galaxy of Heroes, a powerful and ruthless attacker who would often throw strategy out the window and just use brute force and his incredible saber skills to solve problems. Anakin completely fails to reflect this in the game. Anakin does a better job of killing himself with explosives than he does cutting down most of the enemies in the current level of power creep. With Rebel and Jedi teams countering, his AoE becomes a double hindrance, leaving you with one basic attack that just doesn't warrant his use. A lack of major synergy with his known allies such as General Kenobi, his Padawan Ahsoka Tano, Captain Rex and other clones is another missing aspect to his kit that could be looked at. In the current Bastila teams, when we're looking for our high damage role, a new player could be forgiven for assuming you'd pick Anakin over Ezra or Ahsoka Fulcrum. Unfortunately, Anakin doesn't really bring anything to the team. His turn meter gain is also pretty useless under her lead, as he's often dead before any of the team really loses health consistently enough to allow any significant gains. With the return of the Clone Wars TV series, I actually expect we'll see Anakin reworked at some point, and hopefully a synergy with his main allies. I'd do something like turning his basic into a potential multi-attack like Count Dooku's. Some countering or frenzy-like state when his allies, particularly his known friends, are injured or killed. You could even bring Padme, with synergy that would turn Anakin into a fast and powerful offensive character when she's hurt or killed, but with her left alive, she motivates him and makes him harder to kill. It would be a case of picking your poison. Regardless, Anakin is a character who needs to be among the best in the game in my opinion, and the arrival of his ship wouldn't go amiss either. He is the best pilot in the galaxy after all. I know Arnold is going to agree with this one, and despite Anakin being a favourite of mine, I can't look past how badly Grievous needs to be reworked. Even before the arrival of R2-D2, BB-8, L337 and T3M4, people would rather use a Jawa than Grievous in their droid teams. That should tell anyone new to the game what they need to know, as none of the Jawa are particularly good either. When it comes to damage, IG-88 gets the spot. For the leader, we go to HK-47. Grievous needs a serious change to pretty much every aspect of his kit, but nothing more than his leadership, which, in my opinion, is one of the weakest in the game. I'd like to see an anti-Night Sister aspect, as well as something that would make him a first choice for any droid team. Again, with the Clone Wars series returning, it's highly probable that Grievous will be reworked in the build up to it, and hopefully give us droid fans more options for any potential comeback they might have. He's an attacker with multiple sabers, so surely his damage should be off the charts. He's ruthless and doesn't care about any of his allies, so he should be throwing them one by one in front of himself, forcing them to take all of his damage. Perhaps the arrival of the B1 battle droid could have a synergy in that way, something like the zombie for the Night Sisters. Perhaps a droidica could make it a nightmare to get at Grievous early. It's clear something needs to be done to finally make Grievous a top character in the game, and that's why he's my first choice. So that's my top 5, now I'd love to hear yours. So leave a comment with your top 5 wanted reworks and I'll feature some of my favourites in the next top 5 episode. I'd love to hear where the rest of the community stand and why they would like certain characters updated. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe with the bell icon if you'd like to be notified of all my future content. Until next time, we're out of here.